inevitably in everybody's career you have either side hustles or you have diversions, and it's really about staying open to shifting or working out what's working for you. At that little moment you don't realise how much impact you've had, but by taking the time to notice and care, it's amazing how much difference you can make. Resilience is a skill. It's not like a personality. You're not born resilient. You learn to be resilient. If you just take the time to drop anchor and stop and pause, your next 3 months could be significantly different.
And welcome to Kitchen Tales, the podcast where we speak to lots of small businesses within Berkshire and all the surrounding areas. We have a lot of fun talking to all of our guests, and we've met some wonderful people so far, haven't we? Really? Hello, Colline. How are you today?
Okay.
I'm giggling.
Yes.
I'm always giggling in these podcasts.
It shows that we have so much fun, doesn't it?
I know, I really do.
We really do, and it's just really nice to be now in a place where, I always do what I call spring cleaning all year round, even if it's in winter, spring cleaning. And we were just chatting how we were organising our fridges, getting things done. And I thought, actually, it's a good chance for us to just speak to whoever is listening or watching us and just give them a few tips and tricks on how to organise your fridge. Do you have any tips?
Well, I actually emptied out the freezer this weekend. And I couldn't believe, I'm not sure I'm actually probably the best one to actually ask, because I was emptying out my freezer and I found so many things in there that I didn't know what they were. I found some bolognese. I'm a cook, and of course I can't get organised in the freezer, can I? So I found some bolognese and I found some chilli. Which one was the bolognese and which one was the chili con carne? And I found the beans and I was like looking, I was smelling, and it was like, and then I actually found the kidney beans. And I thought, right, that's the chili. I'm terrible at labelling. And when I label, it all comes off. I need to get some freezer labels. To do it.
Oh, do you know what? Do you know what I say? Because I always used to say, I need to find these label things. A Sharpie. I just realised I always have it in my drawer. I always make sure I have a Sharpie. Because I've tried every single different type of freezer labels. I've got a really nice small little label maker. I make them on. But as you say, they come off. Yes, I literally make them. I just write. I bought it for like £20 on Amazon. And to be honest, the printer paper is expensive. I probably spend another £20 every 3 months because I use this label maker a lot. But sometimes they come off. So now I've just resorted to using a Sharpie and it doesn't come off.
Doesn't, because I've got all these black pens that I'm marking and they all rub off.
Sharpie. Go with the Sharpie.
Yes, I need to go with Sharpie.
Just get a proper Sharpie and then you can write on there. And actually, my tip was to do with that. So I try and make sure that whenever I go to IKEA, which I don't try and go often because I spend way too long in there, more time than I need to be in there. But whenever I go, so in their home section downstairs, I get the freezer bags. They have like loads of different sized ones. Some of them, I think they come in a pack of 2. One side has got a different side. And those are fantastic because if you're packing something so small like this or something huge like this, with my Sharpie, what I do is some things that I'm like the bolognese and stuff, I already have them written down. I have them written on the packs already, ready to go. Then they go in the freezer because anything else, these labels, either I forget, it comes off, but a Sharpie does the trick. Good. So that's my tip of the week. Just use a Sharpie to label things in your freezer so you don't miss them out and forget what they are.
Yes, I know. And also the date. You also need to put the date in there because, I find when I've got a very big freezer in the garage and I go right down to the very bottom. How long has that been in there?
Exactly.
And you have only got to store your food for, really, people say about maximum of 3 months. Now, you can go a bit longer, but I wouldn't go too much longer than that.
Yeah, too much longer, it's just good, especially like, as you're saying, if you keep on adding and adding and adding, it's a good thing to have a bit of a rotation as well, to just have that day, that weekend where you're looking, before I buy any food, what's in my freezer. I think that's another tip for us this week. Check your freezer before you go shopping. And your spice cupboard. I have to say the spice cupboard, because mine, I'm like, why do I have 6 different packs of cinnamon? I use cinnamon, but not that much. Why do I have so much cumin? It's just stuff that is like, before you do anything, don't buy from the shop until you had it. And actually another last, I keep on giving tips, guys. I'm giving you too much of my tips, but they are good. I actually I've got chalkboard wallpaper. So I actually cut a piece of it and then I put it inside my spice drawer. And then I've got a list of all the spices that are in there.
That's good.
So even if I don't want to have a look, I see what's the last thing that I've written. And anytime it's run out, I cross it out.
Yeah.
So that's another tip as well you can have. But with spices, I find like most people will have so many different ones. And then you look, you're like, I've got 20. But actually I need one that's not there.
Yeah. And
actually, I keep on buying all these other ones.
And they've always got a sell-by date.
They
do.
Actually,
I look in there and... they've gone off years ago. But actually, I do sometimes use it.
Yeah.
You know, I've got a really good spice mix, which I do not think goes off because it's exactly the same. So actually, you can go over a few years.
And some of them, if they're like, you can just roast them. Roast them and then bliss them up if you've got a really good blender, Yeah. And you're good to go.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's enough tips because we are giving you too many tips.
We've got a guest today.
We have an amazing guest. So today we've got Kirstin, and she's a coach facilitator. And welcome to our podcast.
Well, thank you for having me here.
Kirstin. Nice
I
to
love
see
listening
you.
to you two chat. And I've been writing the tips down.
I love that.
I use a lot of Sharpies in my work.
Brilliant.
Favourite tool.
Good.
Yeah. And Post-it notes.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
And my freezer is a mess. So let's not talk about that.
That can be next week's problem. So you can add that to the
I'll
list.
do a decluttering session on that another time.
Yeah. So tell us a bit more about you and what you actually do.
Well, actually, it's funny that you were talking about decluttering because I think the way that I like to describe what I do is I'm like a thinking partner for people. And my role is to help people kind of untangle, declutter, get focused and work out what next. And that could be anyone from an individual who's coming up against a challenge in the workplace, or they have hit a point in their career they want to shift jobs, or they are just at a bit of a loss and don't know what to do next. It could be a founder or a small business who is just kickstarting and they don't quite know where to invest their resources, so time or money, or they're out at sea already, sailing away, and they need to kind of drop anchor and work out, hold on a minute, where is my energy going, and I need a little bit of help and a sounding board. Or bigger businesses sometimes, so it's, CEOs or teams, and it's doing sort of creative facilitation and problem solving for them. So I think that probably sums it up.
Yeah.
Thinking partner is a funny way of describing it, but I feel like when you're working with people, it's more of a partnership. I'm not a consultant, I'm not an advisor, I'm there to help them unravel their own thinking, basically.
And how did you get into it? How did you go back a bit and find? And let's hear about how you got into it.
Yeah, it definitely wasn't a linear process. It was more of an evolution. So I spent about 15 years in public relations and communications, which I also fell into. So that wasn't a sort of clear cut, I know what I want to do. It was more of a, what am I going to do? And if I go all the way back, my A-levels were psychology, English literature and art. And if I think to my career, that's kind of been the thread throughout. So the psychology and the behaviour of people and why they do things, how they think, what gets in their way. The creativity, creativity requires a process, and it's a really clever thinking process that artists and creative people do. Everyone sort of does. And then the English literature is storytelling. So whether I meant it or not, that's kind of been the thread that's tied throughout my career. So when I ended up in public relations, that was storytelling on behalf of big brands. And that was sort of zooming out to work out how to connect the dots, how to get them earned media, not paid for media. And I had some brilliant clients that I worked for. You guys would love it because I did a lot of food PR for a while.
Okay.
So English beef and lamb executive, British sausages, Dunkin' Donuts.
Oh, wonderful.
But then I also did sort of Airbus or the National Osteoporosis Society or Women of the Year Awards. So working for a lot of different brands and helping them work out how to tell their stories. So that got me to a certain point in my career. And then I think I started to fall less in love with the storytelling of the brands. I still love that. I still think that's a brilliant space to be in. And I started getting more interested in the people behind the brands or the people I was working with and how to get the best out of them. How some business cultures cause people to not grow because it's not a very healthy culture to be in, or how people aren't very good at telling their own story and therefore they knock their own confidence regularly. And so I started kind of a growing interest in that, and I went back to university with 2 small kids and studied a master's in innovation, creativity and leadership, which is quite
a mouthful.
Quite the mouthful. It sounds really poncy whenever I say it out loud. But
It's very specific and sounds niche, though.
it was like a sort of soft MBA. So I say soft, what I mean is a more creative way of looking at businesses. Looking at leadership and how you help organisations to innovate, looking at creative problem solving, what sort of structures you put in place to help people think differently, looking at the arts and how that impacts people's thinking patterns. It was fascinating. I loved it. I loved doing it. And that then led me to working with teams on behaviours. And then it led me to thinking I actually really like working one-on-one with people. And then it led me to start thinking, well, there's loads of businesses locally and loads of founders locally, and they just need somebody to bounce something off, and I think I can help them. Oh, and if I grab my PR aspect and I put my storytelling hat on, I can help them tell their stories better. So that's sort of the journey. So it was, like I said, it's an evolution rather than a clear plan. It just sort of is where I've ended up.
Well, you've evolved really well because everything actually just marries together, and I can just see the picture. And you're a great storyteller, by the way.
Thank you.
Being able to talk about your journey and how it all comes together, I think is absolutely brilliant and fantastic.
You've done a lot as
You
well.
have.
You don't look old enough to have done all of that.
Well, that's the makeup and hopefully some support. I'm in my 40s, and I think inevitably in everybody's career you have either side hustles or you have diversions, and it's really about staying open to shifting or working out what's working for you. I've been doing more stuff with younger people, which I'm really enjoying, and I think there's a big space for it where a lot of the time when you're 17 or 18, you're kind of heading in the direction that mum or dad want you to, or that your mates are going in. And I remember walking into my careers library back in the day where there was less information available, and it was just like a sheet of white files from A to Z, and the careers officer was like, well, if you want a career, just read those. Maybe I didn't get past A. I was like, this is boring. And I think younger people are struggling to work out who are they before they even make decisions about where they want to go. What is it I'm looking for? Does that career actually match up with what I see myself doing in 3 or 4 years?
It's very daunting as well, the big wide world and which direction to actually go in.
There's a lot of pressure,
especially as of somebody so young.
And suddenly you're like, right, I'm expected to know what degree I want to do. I'm expected to know who I want to be in 5 years. I don't know. I don't know what I want to do.
Everyone's expecting you to be an adult. Because most of them, live. I always think about the young people that moved from, you go into lockdown, you're a 14, 15-year-old, and then you come out of it and everyone's expecting you to be an adult. So just imagine that cohort of young people in that time, and at a time where there is underfunding in a lot of resources. Just the other day I was speaking to somebody about how we had an organization called Connections. I don't know if Connections is still in business or are still running, but as far as I know, not. Where you were able to go and sit with somebody and they will go through your career. This was again maybe an evolution from when you were younger, but where someone would sit down with you, they'll run through your options for uni, all of that what was done, you could go in for free. I remember you could get like a Connections card, which was almost like your ID. It just felt like there was a lot of help and support. Whereas I feel like now, unless you go to a specific school that has that support, there is no one. And your parents are meant to know. But actually, I always say this, I was like, we are out of touch now of what's new.
For sure.
So somebody like yourself, it's really good to hear that you actually support that generation and that age group as well. Because I think speaking because I'm really passionate about
Yeah.
how I think they're not getting the support that they need.
I agree. And I think as well, there's this sort of idea that, well, here's the traditional route, right? Finish your A-levels, go to university, follow this route. There are other routes, and that's not the route for everybody. And sometimes people are just doing what they think they should because that's what is sort of laid out in front of them. And really it's about understanding your own signals, like what is it that I'm passionate about, what is it I enjoy, what am I looking for, and then it's talking to people around you. What do you do? Tell me about that. What does that actually look like? And then it's working out with confidence how to tell your story, because when you've just left school you don't have that big a story to tell. And really the more experience you can get out in the real world, whatever that might be, the more lessons you're going to learn, the more opportunities you have to start building a picture of who you are. And I think, I 100% agree. For younger people, there's a lot to be done. And actually took my son to something recently that I think could be quite interesting. It's something called Off Script, which is the alternative route into entrepreneurship or how AI is going to impact the future. And it was really great to use that as a conversation starter with him beyond, what are you going to do? Who do you want to be?
Yes,
He doesn't know.
Because the pressure is a lot. It's a lot. Because I thought that this new generation has changed, but I feel like they feel more pressure than we do.
Yes.
Because I keep on hearing people like, some of the people, Rhona, we were just chatting about some of the young people that help and support us with waitressing when we do our events, speaking to a lot of them. And I'm like, you're all just still doing the traditional jobs. I left being an accountant. My partner left being in marketing. Like, surely there is more. But you can't say that because this young person has already told you, I'm going to go to uni, I'm going to study X, Y, and Z. You're like, really?
Yeah.
I think you can do more. Because it's like, you've got to know their personality. You got to know, but they feel so pressured.
Yes.
Because they're like, everyone knows he's going to uni.
Yeah.
I guess I got to choose something.
I've got to have an answer.
I got to have an answer.
I've got to have an answer.
And actually, no.
And that's a soft skill that takes you all the way through. So some of the stuff that I do with one-to-one is often confidence-based stuff, which, if you're starting to teach them early or starting to teach them that resilience skill, because resilience is a skill. It's not like a personality. You're not born resilient. You learn to be resilient. And I think, one of the things that I find that I'm dealing with often women entering into a new position within the workplace, it's confidence. What's my personal narrative? How am I telling my story? How am I owning my value? And it's complex relationships. It's like, how am I dealing with those crunchy, difficult conversations that just like set my body on fire with anxiety, and I just don't want to do it. Sometimes a conversation I might have with someone is they might meet with me twice and that's it, just to purely work through how am I going to tackle this really crunchy conversation that is making me feel super anxious. And it's just slowing their thinking down and taking them through a process that gets them thinking about the other person, what they're walking into the situation thinking and wanting out of it, what they want out of it. And it's just helping them slow it down, think differently, and then reapproach that with a bit more confidence. So
would you say you're quite niche?
I don't know, actually. I don't know. I think what I've noticed is there's a space for this level of support for people that people might not have revealed yet. So you might not think, I need a coach or I like
you might not
thinking
know.
partner. You might not know, but that ability to just pause, and I call it like drop anchor. So, say you're out at sea, you've already started your journey. If you just drop anchor for a bit and you stop and you think and you declutter your brain. I call it like, for the A of anchor, it's air it all out. And that's a really important part of the process, because if you air out your problems, you're sort of emptying the basin. So if you're decluttering your freezer, for example, you can't declutter your freezer with everything in your freezer. You've got to take it all out. And then you can work out, well, what's valuable, what goes back in, what don't I need anymore? It's like a Marie Kondo of, the brain.
I like that.
And that, I think that ability and skill is more needed than people realise. So whether or not I'm niche, I don't know. I mean, there are lots of coaches out there, but maybe it's just that people haven't thought, actually be really beneficial to just sit with someone and help think differently for a bit.
Do you know what? I'm actually getting a bit emotional because I just realized you talking about what you do. I just realized that actually I have a coach. I mean, I knew she was a coach, but she wasn't coming to help or support me. So she was helping a lot of young people that might have like some learning difficulties, and she was trying to get them into employment. So she came to me because she wanted to get a young person a job, and the person ended up working at my cafe. And one day she just saw me. I was really tired, exhausted, trying to run a charity, my business, being a mom, being a wife, all of that stuff. And I remember, I'm going to have to say her name. Her name is Isabel King. And she sat me down. She's like, can you just come and sit down? Let's have a cup of tea. And then I was thinking, oh, for fuck's sake, I'm so busy.
I haven't got time for a cup of tea.
Then I was like, okay, fine. I'll sit with you. And she just said, you never take a break. Do you want to just... You just seem like you have a lot going on. She pulled up a piece of paper and she literally drew like 2 circles. She's like, I need you to write what's important to you. And again, I was like, I need to do this. And then I remember writing everything. And she said, I need you to write all the things that you do. What is the circle of the most important things to you? And it was family, it was the cafe, my business, or this like, why are you doing all these other things? And all right, I'm not gonna cry now, but I probably will. And I remember that day. That's the day that I made the decision that I was going to close my cafe. And I don't think she realizes how much of an impact she had on my life, because that moment really made me start thinking, what do I want for my life? And I'm emotional because I realize the value of the work that you do and how much she actually made an impact on my life. I need to message her. So she knows because everything, all the decisions that I made from that day onwards have led me to now living the life that I'm living now, which I would say I'm living the best and happiest life that I've ever lived. And I'm doing perhaps less than half of the things that I was doing before, but I managed to declutter, as you're saying. And I managed to just let go of some of those things that were actually not serving me. And I didn't realize that I needed to do that. So this is to say I value everything that you do. And I think it's taken me, this was 2.5 years. It's taken me 2.5 years to realize that I actually had a moment that has helped change my life. And that was 10 minutes of my life. So now I can imagine if someone's working with you for a period of time.
Well, if I do this to anyone, this would honestly the absolute joy that would bring me. I had a CEO I used to work with, and she would call that what's called a lollipop moment. It's like that little moment you don't realise how much impact you've had, but by taking the time to notice and care, it's amazing how much difference you can make. And
absolutely.
you know, just watching you there,
that's amazing.
It's amazing how you don't, you know,
oh my word,
you know, that level of kindness, that level of reflection, that level of being noticed. And I don't think people give themselves the chance to be noticed. And you know, my job isn't advising or consulting, it is just to listen and then to help work out, okay, all right, let's get this all out, let's talk it through. What do we want to prioritise?
It's like a therapy session, though, is it?
Absolutely,
it can be.
It can be because it's like, and again, it's I guess it's in a different way, because when you talk about therapy, for most people, they're like, oh, can't possibly afford that. Oh, I don't want to do that. Oh, I'm not ready to do that. But actually, just decluttering your brain in that way, I think is very, what's the word, cathartic, and can actually help your life in whatever aspect that might look
100%. And you can get yourself really het up about something that if you just talk to someone really simply, before you know it, actually your shoulders have dropped a bit and you're like, oh, I'm not so scared about that conversation. Oh, actually now I know what my value is when I walk into that job interview. You know, I've got a story to tell, you know, and this is all just part of a positive, you know, process. I'm out of my comfort zone and that's okay. And sometimes you just need someone to calm you down.
Absolutely. Needed. And sometimes it's coming out of from somebody who's not part of your life. I think it's even more important, because with everyone, they come with either preconceived either judgment, or they feel like they know you or anything like that, but someone else, I think it's actually important for you to be somebody that you don't know so much personally, because I feel like you're much more likely to put your guard down and just be able to talk.
Yes, 100%.
To talk, because I don't think in that moment, I'm pretty sure my mom, my family would have maybe told me, you're doing too much. I mean, you were saying it. Everyone around me was saying it. But in that moment, it's like someone else from the outside looking in.
Yeah.
And that can make or change somebody's life like it did.
Yeah. You would have been ill. You would have been ill.
I would have been.
And it can have a major impact on, we just don't function as well. And if you just take the time to drop anchor and stop and pause, your next 3 months could be significantly different. And then you're not, treading water for the sake of it. You're actually making progress and deciding what you want to do. And I think it can be really beneficial. Yeah. So
that's incredible. Yeah. So tell us how, if anyone is looking to book your services, is looking to find out, tell us what sort of age group, age range you work with, and how people can find you and book for your services.
Well, the best way to find me is with my very complicated name, which I probably need to rethink. It's my website, which is KirstinKaszubowska.com, which hopefully we can just give a link to save people trying to spell that out. And there's the opportunity to book a free kind of initial call with me, which is just to work out what I can do and if there's chemistry. Because I think when you're working with someone, you have to feel like you can work with them and you can trust them. And then it sort of overviews all the different types of work I do there. But I take on anyone really. So like I said, I've started working with slightly younger, 17 plus, when they're sort of working out, what do I want to do? Where do I want to go next? I work with founders and small businesses when they're sort of at that point of, I'm about to set sail or I'm already out to sea and I just need some help focusing on what I want to do. And actually, I'm not telling my story very well. What's my bold point of view? How do I stand out? What's my secret sauce? That work is really beneficial, I tend to find. And then also some one-to-one stuff. So, if people are just going for a job interview and they're just a bit anxious and they want to talk it through with someone, I can help them with that sort of stuff. So all of it's on the website, so they can find out about me on there and just give me a call. Happy to talk and that's what I'm here for.
Yeah, brilliant. And are you on any social media platforms?
I am not, actually. I haven't started to build one up. I think there's a lot of content out there. You've got brilliant content with you guys, and so I haven't started to enter into that space yet. But I will. I love Instagram.
It's another full-time job, but get on it for your business as
Once
well.
I'll start thinking about what I want to say and start helping people on Instagram for sure. Yeah.
That's fantastic. Well, it's so lovely to meet you.
It is, thank you.
And before we finish the podcast, we're asking our guests what they're having for dinner. What are you having for dinner tonight?
Well, I batch cooked some chili con carne yesterday, so it'll probably be that if my son hasn't already eaten it.
I like that. Get home and it's gone.
And it's gone, and in which case it'll be a fish finger wrap.
There's nothing wrong with that.
It's always a good idea, that is. Yeah. What are you having, Rhona?
Oh, from the freezer I took out some chicken thighs, and I'm making a Anna's Family Kitchen hoisin chicken thighs with pancakes and hoisin sauce, which you make, and pancakes and spring onions and cucumber.
Oh, that sounds very
delicious. I want to come to your house.
That sounds
well, there's lots in my freezer, so I'm going to be using it all now. So.
That sounds delicious. I would like some of that.
What are you having, Colline?
Well, we're having again, from fridge and freezer clear out, we're literally putting a Buddha bowl together for dinner based on whatever is in the fridge. And I know I've got some salmon that was in the freezer that I've taken out. So we're going to have loads of veg and some salmon. Sweet potato, definitely. We love sweet potato in my house. So it'll be sweet potato, salmon, and whatever other veg, and just put that in a bowl.
Lovely and healthy.
Yes.
Good.
Yes. Well, thank you so much for everyone who's been listening to us and watching us. You can find us at kitchen.tales.podcast on Instagram, and you can find us on all platforms. You can find a podcast and on YouTube as well. Thank you.
Thank you.